Good evening. I know it's Monday, but I thought I'd go live and see if anybody wants to come in and have a conversation with me about what's going on in their lives and how they're proceeding with all the changes that are happening around the world, how you're dealing with COVID, if you've had vaccines, and if that's shifted you. So if you want to come into the conversation, I do request that there's no nudity, and if you just be respectful so that I don't have to block you. I don't want to do that, but I would be interested in having a conversation. So if you want to come in and have a conversation with me, just hit the request button and you can ask a question. If you want to, we'll have a conversation, but if you want to just ask a question, you can do that and then go out too. All right. I do have the badges turned on tonight, so if you would like to participate in tipping and just showing your gratitude for the work that I do and that Karenlee does when we do our show together, that would be incredible. I would be thrilled. Thank you. So I do have somebody. Toad wants to come in. All right. So remember, if you misbehave, I will block you. I'm going to write names down and I'll block you. But I trust that you know the rules of my lives. So good evening. Some is coming in. We'll see how this goes. Testing the waters to see if respect is a part of the plan. Hello. Are you there? So do you have a question? You came into my live, you're on video and audio. All right, somebody doesn't understand the rules, so we will have to exit them, and I'm not sure how to do that. Anybody know how I can get them out of here? How do I get them? Okay, all right, gone. All right, so hi, nice to meet you, Kenny. Good morning. Where are you from? Seems like you're not from the US. So what I would like to, obviously I will chat about whatever you guys have questions. Thank you for the badge. I appreciate that. White or red? I'm actually drinking bubble water tonight. I do my wine on Thursdays. I can't drink wine every night. I get ripping headaches. So I have a glass when I do my show with Karen, but otherwise I pretty much I'm a big bubble water fan. I'm drinking Crystal Geyser lemon mineral water. So I guess it's white. So I've been doing some work getting ready for a couple of really exciting couples retreats coming up. I'm going to be in New Orleans. Who's going to be in New Orleans in 9 days for Naughty in New Orleans? Anybody else going? I'm excited. Not sure what I'm going to be teaching yet, but whatever it is, I'm sure it'll be fun, and it'll be fun just to be there. So you have your bubble water too. Awesome. How are you doing, Megan? So Mr. Starbucks, hey, how you doing? So I'll be in New Orleans from August 4th through 8th. And is anybody signed up to go to Naughty in New Orleans? I guess there's going to be, I think I saw 1,200 people. Makes me a little nervous. But they are going to do vaccinated events and non-vaccinated events, I guess, or I don't know. Mark and I'll go teach our classes and then just go do our own thing. We're not big for the group stuff. So you'll be in Jamaica in October. Great. I hope that things are settled down and not worse by then. There were about five or six cases that I know of last week at hedonism. So I know 1,200. I know it's like, hopefully most people are vaccinated, but I don't know still. I mean, I guess I don't worry so much about dying from COVID now that I'm vaccinated. What I worry about is getting sick and just being inconvenienced, because I don't have time to be sick. So I'm super cautious because I don't have time to be down with any kind of illness. So when I go to the store, I wear my mask and I socially distance and I wash my hands and hang out with people I know who are kind of doing the same thing I'm doing and also who've been vaccinated. Right now, I think it's a smart thing to do as the cases climb, and let the non-vaccinated people work it out. I don't know what else to say. I know that trying to convince people that vaccines are safe when I know how many millions of people have had them. I don't know what else we can do. There have been some states that have even kind of bribed people with money and that kind of thing. So I don't really know that that's a great idea. I'd rather we educate people. But what are you doing? How are you? You're fully vaccinated? Awesome. I can't wrap my head around why you wouldn't be at this point when we know that it's always a risk. Heard a great saying the other day from Bob Hannaford that he heard from somebody that works in the COVID task force for the government. And he said, you have to know your risk, you have to manage your risk, and you need to own your risk. So I think that's really the best approach for how we proceed. Yeah? You think that's a good idea? But still got a COVID test last week due to a horrible cold. There are some really, really ripping head colds, a rhinovirus called, going around that's knocking people out. And that's the other thing that kind of struck me is my daughter had it. She was down for 2 or 3 days. My son-in-law had it. It's like, so, and they tested every day for COVID and nobody had COVID. They've all been vaccinated, but dang, they were super inconvenienced and out. I mean, miserable for several days. I'm thinking, I don't have time for that. So the common thing you're seeing are people are wondering about the long-term effects of the vaccine for whatever reason. I guess it's an unknown, but we know what the long-term effects of COVID are, and sometimes it's death, too high. And then my husband's got about 20 patients right now with long COVID who've been sick since last January and haven't been able to work. One of them's a 35-year-old nurse who can't work. She has no energy. She still has all kinds of heart things going on. So it's not just, oh, you're going to either get a cold-like thing or you're going to die. There's a lot of in between that's not fun. So you put on your social media, because a lot of people don't want to get the vaccines. And now I'm seeing my close friends getting vaccinated. Excellent. Excellent. That's wonderful. And I think that the more people in your close circle, I think one of the things that shifts people the fastest is to know somebody that has COVID, and to watch them try to breathe is pretty brutal. And so usually those are the people. And people that are being diagnosed are saying, well, can I get the vaccine now? And the answer is no, too late. And, so it's, I don't even know why it's a debate, to be honest with you, when we see what's going on in some of the cities and the hospitals. But so on a brighter note, some really fun things. I have a really cool couples retreat coming up in October, and it's small. It will be probably 10 to 15 couples, and we're doing it in Malibu, California. Dr. Ava Cadell, Dr. Hernando Chavez, Dr. Mark Pierce, and myself. The 4 of us will be doing a 3-day couples, it's called Intimacy Boot Camp. Do you like that name? So it's going to be how to reboot your intimacy and spice up your sex life. So we've got all kinds of excuse me, really fun things planned. Hello. Thank you for the compliment. Sweet. So anything else new? If anybody would like to come in, I do have the badges turned on tonight. I figured out how to do that again. And if you want to come in to have a conversation or to ask me a specific question or to share a story about anything going on with you that's pertinent to, you know, what we talk about on the show. This is kind of a little adjunct to Karen and my Wild Women with Wine show, only I'm doing it with bubble water tonight. And she's just got back from Chicago, so she's out of commission for the evening. But I wanted to just check in with everybody and see how you're doing. There's just so much going on in the world that's unfriendly, and I think we need to branch out and have more conversations with people so that we can understand each other's positions and learn a little bit more about what makes us tick. Are you interested in human nature? Because it fascinates the hell out of me. It always has. That's probably why I became a nurse and then a health educator and then a sex doctor. You know, just human nature is just trippy, right? What makes people do what they do and think what they think. And okay, so we have somebody that wants to come in, and I think, did you ask before? Was that you? If you're asking to come in, you're going to be live on video. So message me and let me know if you understand that. And I just need you to see your face and you're going to ask a question. If you understand that, you can make a comment and then I'll invite you in. This isn't, you know, it's not just, I don't know what some people think that is. So conversation kills a lot of BS. I think, yeah, I think good, face-to-face conversations with people is really, I just think it's important that we sit down and learn to have a conversation. And one of the, oh, okay, no problem. One of the techniques I teach is how to have an oasis conversation, which is different than just a general conversational style where we go back and forth and we kind of talk over each other, or when the other person's talking, we're thinking about what that you want to say to rebut, or we had to ask, you have more questions about what they're talking about, or those kind of things. And the technique that I teach has more to do with really just paying attention to what they're saying and playing back what they're saying until they feel heard. And that's really challenging for people when I teach this in large groups and individual couples. It's really challenging. People are, I don't know how to do that. I'm so used to either going into their argument style. I had a couple of people in my last group that kind of laughed midway through and said, wow, I realize how much I'm preparing for an argument in this question, in this conversation. I'm prepping to challenge you or to debate you. Thank you for the hair highlight color. And so they weren't really listening or trying to understand where the other person was coming from. They were just looking to make their point and to change and challenge their partner's conversation. And when they did the technique that I taught them, what they ended up with was a shocking sense of calm between them. The person really felt heard, and then the other person felt like they really heard them and they paid attention, and they felt very loving to them instead of ending up with tension, which isn't always good. Let's see. Okay, so King's saying that you'd be surprised how it can shift things when somebody, you just let somebody talk. But it's not just about letting them talk. I mean, that is important at times, like in therapy. I mean, it's not just letting somebody ramble on and on. But oftentimes they don't really get resolution and they don't feel really heard. The technique I teach keeps that person a little bit more concise, so they can speak to one topic or answer a question that I might give them, to speak on that for maybe 2 minutes, and then pause. So the other person has time to kind of digest what they're saying and really pay attention to what they're saying. Then that person plays back what they heard them say. And then the first person has a chance to say, well, what I really meant to say, or I'd like to add to that. And they might go back and forth several times with this technique. It's really active listening, but it's done in a way that it moves back and forth until the first person that spoke says, thank you, I really feel heard. And they feel this calm of, this person really gets me. Because not only when you do the active listening are you speaking to the words that they've said, but you're picking up on their body language and their tone and their emotion and anything else that you see in their physical and emotional dynamic. You can speak to that when you play it back to them. So that it's almost like a mirror. And then they go, oh, okay, well, that's not really what I wanted to say. I really want to go deeper. And you'd be surprised how long it takes for a person to really unearth what they wanted to say and what they were meaning. In a general conversation, they would never get to that because you'd be past that and on to something else very quickly. So that's why probably one of the biggest complaints I get from people is that they don't really feel like they're heard by their partner. They feel like they talk and nobody listens. And the partner's going, I'm listening to you, but they're not doing it in an active way that really allows their partner to feel heard. It's the same with loving someone. We can say, I love you, but if we're never speaking to them in their love language, which is really important that we become bi-love-lingual, we have to speak in their love language. Otherwise, they're not understanding what we're trying to say. It's like speaking 2 different languages. So that's an interesting class that I teach as well. Let's see what else you guys saying. So the badges are on tonight. The badges are little tips that Karen and I collect and we share, and it's just a nice way to say thanks for being here and taking some time to chat with us about these topics and answer our questions. If you have a question, this is your chance to ask it. I can't get to the private messages, and I typically don't answer a lot of questions in the private messages because I get so many, I would never get any work done. So for people that really want to, that have a personal question that they want to dive into a little bit, you can make a 15-minute appointment with me. It's on my website, drnsp.com, and you'll get my undivided attention for that period of time to really go into this. And I can help you with the same process to really feel like you're getting your question answered and you're feeling heard. Classes on Tantra. I do teach classes on Tantra and Kama Sutra and yoga massage and sensual yoga, sensual massage, sensual touch, consent, communication, intimate communication, the power of touch, all those things. I tend to be more of a sensualist. I have a lot of colleagues that will teach, and I've taught, all the classes in the sexology realm that are maybe more practical, I guess. Yoni massage, lingam massage, those type of things. I've certainly taught those, but I tend to gear more toward communication, intimate communication. That seems, and obviously that can be used in those classes as well. So let's see, Karen's popping in here. So do you have any? Well, hey Dempsey, how are you? So I'm answering questions, talking about how people are doing with the changes that are coming about with the COVID increases, vaccines, Um, Anything else that's on your mind? I don't even mind getting into a little political conversation. I heard something that was really powerful. Jon Stewart said about, um, uh, hey Brian, about politics, because I've always kind of said I'm just not a political person. I just don't, I don't really understand politics, and I've always said that until about 5 years ago, and then I felt like it was my public duty to get involved and to know more about politics so that I could help avoid the mess that we got ourselves into. And he was saying anybody who says they're not political is really it's really a kick in the face to our Constitution and our fiduciary responsibility to vote and to know what we're voting for and to know how our government works, because we are the government, right? Each one of us citizens we are the government. So if we say we're not political, we're not doing our job. We're falling down on the job. So I think we all need to be much better educated as to how things work in the government, who's doing what, and how people are getting elected. Because I don't know about you guys, but I think there's a lot of really horrible people that have been elected to very important offices, and I don't understand how that happens. So because I don't understand, I'm getting much more involved to see if there's something I can do to my part. That's all we can do. And I think we need to talk about it. We need to teach our kids. How many of you grew up with people saying never talk about politics or religion or money? Don't talk about those things. And yet those are very important, or sex. Those are very important things in our world that we need to know how to have conversations about. So if we're not teaching people how to have those conversations, then we just feel threatened or out of sorts or or not comfortable, and then we end up with such dismay. So I believe we really do need to learn how to have these conversations. So you have to be involved in politics because of a debt owed to my parents, and yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yep. And I do that. I feel like I have the same responsibility to womanhood and womankind because of all the women that I think it's when we teach our girls what a short period of time women have had rights. Same with how long Black people have had rights. It's absurd, first of all, and we really need to understand all the people that have bled and died for us to be able to have those rights and respect them by continuing to do the work to make it more so and more equal and more bring in humanity into our conversations. So I think learning how to have these conversations. So Brady, you were taught not to have those conversations. I think a lot of us were, and I'm all for, first of all, if I were single and dating, I'd want to have those conversations right out of the chute, because I couldn't share a life with somebody that had an oppositional political view and humanity view from me. I couldn't. I wouldn't have respect if somebody wasn't. I think for me, some of these beliefs aren't political. They're about humanity and compassion and love. So if you can be disrespectful to an entire group of people simply because of their gender, color, or who they love, sorry, I want nothing to do with you. That's not a good person to me. It's not a person that's humane. I know that's judgmental. That's probably the one place I am judgmental. Elderly and former military vets' rights should be brought up more. I believe so. Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. We didn't talk about people suffering from PTSD and all the homeless people, and you wonder how many vets out there are suffering and not getting the care that they need. That's another. And people who are disabled, or all right, that's another pet peeve of mine, is the word disabled. I had taught a class for a while at a community clinic here, and it was on. I was speaking on yoga as therapy. I taught a 6-week course using the principles of yoga as a therapeutic model, emotional therapeutic and physical therapeutic. And I had a guy that came in, and he had been disabled from injury from work, and so he felt like he bought into the idea that he was disabled. And I said, well, what else would you do if you couldn't do that? And he said, well, I love making wood bowls. And I said, well, your leg, you don't need the leg that isn't functional as much as it was to do that. Why aren't you doing that? Well, because I'm disabled. And I said, well, how about if we focus on what you're able to do? And so he didn't come back to the classes, and I thought, oh geez, I've insulted him, I've hurt him, I felt really bad. I didn't really know what to do. A few weeks later, I ran into him at a grocery store, and he just looked super happy, and he comes up to me and he goes, I just want to thank you. I didn't come back because I got so busy making bowls again, and his eyes were alive. He just seemed completely up, because he had been suffering from such severe depression because of his idea that he was disabled. So I think when a person says they're disabled, we need to say, well, what are your abilities? Let's focus on those, because we all have things we can do and things we can't do, right? There's a lot of things I can't do. So if I just focused on those, then I'd probably feel really bad about myself. But I tend to focus on the things I can do and that I enjoy doing and that make me feel valued in society and in my personal life. So that's another one of my pet peeves. So let's see what else we got going here. You can't fault someone in their political views. But that's not a political view. Political views are if you look at the principles of being a Republican or being a Democrat or being an independent, those concepts. But a lot of people have equated the politics with their belief systems that are based on religion, discrimination, supremacy, and ignorance. And so when people stick to those and want to make everybody else believe their religion as a part of their political stance, I can't respect that, because that seems inhumane to me. Or they will try to take away your rights, like the right to marry whoever you want. If you want to take away that right under the umbrella of being affiliated with a political party, I can't respect that, because that seems the antithesis of what the political party says they're supposed to stand for. So it's when people aren't consistent with their beliefs, their actions, and their thoughts, I couldn't be in an intimate relationship with them. Let's just say that. I've lost some friends because of that, because I discovered how racist they were, or misogynistic they were, or cruel to people that didn't look like them, or have as much money as them, or that kind of thing. So people are radicals on both sides. Yes, I didn't say that they weren't. Yeah. Yep, I think that's true. All right, so badges are on. I'll stay on for another couple minutes. Does anybody have a question, something that they'd like to discuss, share, or ask before I go? So if you're interested in some of the retreats and events that I have coming up, I just found a really beautiful private resort in Hawaii, in Lanai, Maui, that I'm gonna start putting together a couples retreat there for maybe next spring. or the fall after that. So it's beautiful. It's 30 steps to the beach, and it has 10 full master bedrooms. They call it a resort because it's so huge. So I'm looking at all kinds of things, but if you go to my website, drnsp.com, and you go to the events, you can find all the events that I have coming up. You can get information on my exotic lifestyle retreat. I have something happening Valentine's week in Jamaica, and also something happening next June in Jamaica. Malibu is October. I'll be in Nolans next month in 9 days. And who knows what's coming for the spring. I haven't really planned that far. But I've got all kinds of things coming on. And then join us here on Thursday nights from 5 p.m. Pacific time to 6 p.m. with Karenlee Potter. Go check her website out. Check out her podcast with her son. It's so good. It's called Sex Talk with My Mom. They are taking off like crazy. Super entertaining, funny, and also informative. So that's a great thing to do. And if you have questions, I do private counseling via Zoom, so I can see people anywhere around the world. And I'm happy you can make appointments with me. I have a sliding scale for cost. So go to my website under Work with Dr. Nancy, and you can see how to make an appointment. And always look forward to seeing you here. Thank you, everybody, for checking in tonight on this Monday. It's still Monday, right? I'm losing track of days. And I'll be back maybe tomorrow night. Looks like Karen and I might do a little quickie tomorrow night as a preview. So check it, watch my Instagram or my Facebook for notifications. And then for sure on Thursday. So make this a great night. Take care, be kind to each other. Think about in your conversations tonight, try something different to really just face your partner or face your friend or whoever you're having a conversation with. Put your phone away in another room, not just turn it face down, but put it in another room. Face them, knee to knee, and just say, tell me what's going on with you. And letting them just have a few minutes to talk. Say, I'm going to give you 3 minutes just to talk to me. And then play back to them the key points that you heard and go back and forth with them and see what happens in your relationship. See what happens to the intimacy, to the connection, to the kindness, to the compassion, and to the calm, to feeling really heard and loved, and how it just feels great to give that to someone. Like, I'm giving you my full undivided attention. That's why people go to therapists, because they get your full undivided attention and they play back what you're saying so that you really feel heard. You don't have to always pay for that. You can do that with your partner or your friend. You can do it with anybody you're having a conversation with. So challenge yourself to try that. Thank you, Dempsey. Always enjoy seeing you come in. All right, you guys have a great night, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night for a brief moment, and then for sure on Thursday. Be kind, take care of each other, and go get your vaccine. Thanks.